All right, let's talk about hybrid work. It's supposed to be the new normal, right? But for so many of us, it feels more like a crisis. You've got disconnected teams, motivation that's just tanking, and managers who are struggling to keep it all together. Sound familiar? Today, we're going to unpack exactly why this is happening and, more importantly, how to fix it using some really powerful tools from the world of organizational behavior. So, let me ask you this, straight up. Is your hybrid team kind of underperforming? And hey, if you're nodding your head right now, trust me, you are not alone. It is a massive challenge out there. But here's the good news. This isn't some unsolvable mystery. There are proven ways to diagnose and actually solve these problems for good.
Okay, to make all this super concrete, we're going to follow a case study. Let's imagine a company, we'll call them XYZ Inc. They've jumped into the hybrid world, and bam, they're hit with all the classic problems. Motivation is low, communication is a mess, and people just don't seem committed anymore. Let's put them under the microscope and see what's going on.
All right, first things first. We can't jump to solutions until we really understand the problem, right? So let's get our detective hats on. What is actually going wrong over at XYZ? And when you look at the symptoms, it's a classic case. Motivation, it's in the tank. Communication, which used to just happen in the office. Now it's full of gaps and misunderstandings. And what happens when communication breaks down? Well, trust starts to disappear. It really all circles back to a leadership problem in this new hybrid setup. And the end result? People just aren't as committed as they used to be. These are the things we've got to tackle.
So, with all that going on, where do you even begin?
Well, you start at the bottom. You start with the foundation.
See, you can't fix an organization until you understand the people in it. And that right there is the absolute heart of organizational behavior.
So, organizational behavior, or OB for short. What is it, really? Simply put, it's the study of people at work. It's all about figuring out why individuals and groups act the way they do. And here's the key part, how all that behavior affects the company's bottom line. It's basically the science of getting a workplace to, actually work.
And what's so cool about OBE is that it's not just one thing. It's like a greatest hits album of the social sciences. It pulls from psychology to understand the individual, what makes us tick. It uses sociology to look at how we behave in groups. It's this awesome mix that gives us the full picture of what's happening in a workplace. Let's grab one idea from psychology to see what I mean. Locus of control. Sounds complicated, but it's not. It's just about where you believe control lies. Do you feel like you are the one driving your life, that you control your destiny? That's an internal locus of control. Or do you feel like stuff just happens to you, that it's all about luck or fate? That's an external locus. Now think about this in a hybrid team. The person with that internal drive, they might love the freedom. But the person with the external view, they might feel totally adrift without a manager right there. As a manager, you can see how knowing this about your team would be huge, right? A total game changer. Okay, so understanding individual personalities. That's step one. Now, let's build on that. Let's tackle the monster issue at XYZ, which is motivation. Because, let's be honest, it's one thing to know who your people are. It's a whole other challenge to figure out what actually gets them out of bed in the morning, ready to do great work. So what are we even talking about when we say motivation? The best way to think about it is like the engine in a car. It's that internal fire that gets you started, points you in the right direction, and, keeps you moving forward. You take away the engine and the whole thing just stops, dead in its tracks. So what are the things that kill that engine? Well, it's a perfect storm of exactly what's happening at XYZ. People feel like their work isn't being seen or recognized, the leadership feels distant or unsupportive, and people are just generally unhappy with their job. Put all that together and that engine just sputters and dies. And this isn't just about bad vibes. These are real, actual productivity killers.
Okay, so how do we restart that engine? This is where a truly brilliant idea comes in, from a guy named Herzberg. It's called the two-factor theory, and his big aha moment was this. He figured out that the things that make us hate our jobs are totally different from the things that make us love our jobs. They're not just opposites of the same thing.
And this is the part you really gotta get. On one side, you've got what he called hygiene factors. Think salary, your work conditions, company rules. Getting these things right doesn't make you happy. It just stops you from being unhappy. To actually get people excited and motivated, you need the other side, the motivators. Things like feeling a sense of achievement, getting recognized for good work, having real responsibility. So for our friends at XYZ, this means it's not enough to just fix the broken stuff. They have to start actively building in the good stuff too.
And all of this, it points directly to the person who has the most control over those motivators, the manager, right? You can have all the best theories in the world, but if the leaders aren't putting them into practice, nothing changes. And that is 1,000 times more true in this tricky hybrid environment.
And let's get clear on what leadership even is. It's not about a fancy title. It's not about being the boss. It's simply the ability to influence people, to move together toward a goal. It's an action. It's a process of helping and guiding your team.
There's a really cool tool that helps us see this clearly, called the managerial grid. It sounds technical, but it's super simple. It just looks at a leader's style based on two things. On one axis, you had their concern for production, hitting targets, getting stuff done. And on the other axis, you had their concern for people, the actual human beings on their team.
Now here's the magic. The sweet spot, the absolute goal, is what's called a 9-9 leader. That's someone who is high on concern for production and high on concern for people. They don't think it's an either-or choice. They know that by building a team on trust and really caring for their people, they get the absolute best results. That is the kind of leadership that makes a hybrid team not just survive, but actually thrive.
Okay, we've done the diagnosis, we've looked at the theories, now it's time to write the prescription. Let's pull all this together into a clear, step-by-step action plan to pull XYZ out of this crisis.
And here's a simple little framework you can use for pretty much any problem like this. It's just 3 steps. First, you identify the real core issues. We did that at the beginning, right? Second, you connect those problems to the right OB ideas, like Hertzberg's theory for motivation. And finally, step 3, you use those ideas to come up with solutions that will actually work in the real world.
So, what does that mean for XYZ specifically? What do they need to do? Well, their leaders need to get serious about transparent communication. No more guessing games. They have to work to earn trust every single day. They need regular, meaningful virtual meetings, not just random calls. They've got to start judging people on their results, not on whether a little green light is on. And maybe most importantly, they need to show they actually care about their team's well-being. This isn't just fluffy stuff. This is the roadmap back to being a great place to work.
And that's our deep dive into solving the hybrid work crisis. We've taken a struggling company, used some powerful tools to figure out what's wrong, and laid out a real plan to fix it. So I'll leave you with one last thought to chew on. Think about your own team, your own workplace. Which one of these ideas really hits home? Is it the locus of control? The difference between hygiene factors and motivators? Whichever one it is, digging into it a little more might be the very first step to unlocking a whole new level of performance for your team.